Hello, I'm RASHI GOEL and I'm pursuing BLLB from University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun. And currently, I am a legal intern at LEXIS and Company. So, in today's video, I'll be talking about the exemptions to the rule of natural justice. There is no definite principle as to natural justice in Indian Constitution. The concept of natural justice has a very impressive history. The notion of natural justice roughly revolves around two principles. So the first principle is nemo judice in causa sua. This Latin principle means that no person should be a judge in his own case, and no one should be allowed to judge any matter while having a personal bias. And second principle is audi alterum partem. This principle means that the other side should be given a fair chance to be heard. It provides the right to the accused to respond to the allegations made against him. Now let's come to the exceptions to the rule of natural justice. First exception is doctrine of necessity and absolute necessity. Doctrine of necessity is an exception to the rule of bias under the natural justice. It allows the authorities to do certain things which are necessary to be done at the moment, and those acts which would be in a normal situation not be allowed by the law. It is invoked in situations where there is no definite authority to decide on a matter. The Supreme Court has although established that the doctrine of necessity should be invoked every now and then for even small matters, which might lead to the absence of rule of law. If there is a choice to whether let a biased person act on the matter or whether to stop the matter itself, the preference will be given to the biased person to act on it to get the definite decision, although which may be affected by the biasness of the particular person or the authority. But nonetheless, the decision of that biased authority is necessary to come to a conclusion under such matter. In doctrine of necessity, there are options to decide whether a biased person should be allowed or should not be allowed. Under the doctrine of absolute necessity, it is absolute necessary to let the case of a biased person be decided. Second exception is statutory exceptions to the rule of natural justice. The principle of natural justice can be excused by certain acts of the Parliament. Parliament, through its power, get rid of the procedures that are otherwise necessary for any administrative action. It must also be noted that here, any action of the Parliament which does not permit the individuals certain rights during the time of any act, such act is bound to come under the scrutiny of the courts and may be challenged under Article 14 of the Constitution of India. A statute may exclude natural justice either expressly or by necessary implications. Now let's talk about the third exception. So the third exception is exception during the situation of emergency. India has witnessed its share in situations of emergencies. It is generally observed that in India, during a situation of emergency, in those cases where the right to be heard will be affected by the government process, it will be excluded from the law for the time being. This means that any hearing or any process which may jeopardize the interest of public at large would not be needed under the principle of natural justice, and any such right would be obviated for the time being. It is necessary in those situations where the process of fair hearing may take too much time and in consequence put the society in trouble either due to any external force, natural force or any internal trouble. Now a fourth exception, which is exception where no right of an individual has been infringed, where a person does not have any right and neither can derive any right from any statute or any common law provisions. He cannot ask for a remedy in that case under the principle of natural justice, and he may in such case forfeit the procedural fairness. there's a Latin principle which says that where there is right, there is remedy. So naturally, in case where there arises no right, then no remedy can be granted for the same. Fifth exception is exception in cases where public interest is of importance. In those situations, considering the welfare of the public at large, it is important not to dispense any such information which may put the safety of the public at threat. State must make sure that it should not compromise the security of its territory and that it should protect all the information that which is of public interest. In Balco Employee Union versus Union of India, the Supreme Court established that the principle of natural justice had no role to play in those situations where policies considering the public at large were to be taken in interest. It was also held that in the cases that unless any situation of the government is arbitrary, illegal or unforeseeable due to any valid reason, the decision of the government cannot be challenged as a violation of the principle of natural justice. And sixth exception is exception in case of academic evaluation. In cases where the authority involved in academic in nature or if the authority is of complete administrative nature, in such cases their evaluations may be excluded from the ambit of rule of natural justice. In JNU versus B.S. Narwal, the respondent was a student of Jawaharlal Nehru University. The student was removed from the university on the basis of his academic performance without being given any chance of being heard. The case reached to the Supreme Court, where the court observed that the nature of the decision is academic authority, and that decision from such authority automatically declines the right of being heard. And it was held that if the assessment of the authority is competent and it decides that the work of the particular student is unsatisfactory, then the rule of natural justice may not be applied. Thank you everyone for watching my video. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to let me know your feedback in the comment section. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy.